My name is Swapnila, and I'm going to be hanging out with all you guys throughout this evening. This time, we are clinging on to as we celebrate the cricketing journey of our dear and master blaster Sachin Tendulkar, who's going to be bidding goodbye to cricket soon. So here, I invite all of you to come hang out with us and ask your questions, and your questions will be answered by none other than the voice of cricket, Harsha Bhogle. Hi, Harsha.
Hi, Swapnil.
All right, Harsha. Now, everybody of us is like very emotional about this moment when Sachin is gonna be retiring. So, how do you take it personally?
To be honest, there's so much happening around this retirement that you're almost busy ticking off the number of things you've got to do. But I think on the morning of the 14th, it'll slowly start to sink in. It happened a couple of times in Kolkata when you're suddenly saying, "Oh," and then you watch a little more carefully, and then all the memories come back. A few more for me than for some others because I knew him from before he played any first class cricket at all. So it will come in, and then the mind slowly goes back, and you say, you know what? We were all. I was 27, 28 when I first started writing about Sachin. I'm still writing about him. And that tells you how far back that was. So it will happen.
Absolutely,
If it didn't happen, then he wouldn't have done anything remarkable.
and you've been following him since he made his debut. So it has been a huge change that you've been noticing.
I've seen him grow from a little boy to an India player, to someone who got married, to someone who's got his own children, to someone who's withstood pain, has overcome injuries, has overcome bowlers. You know, anybody who plays for 24 years is good enough to be picked by the national side for 24 years. It means you have overcome pain, you've overcome injury, you've overcome conditions, you've overcome form, you've overcome your own decline in confidence, which even the very greatest go through. You've overcome all that and still scored runs. It's amazing how little people talk about longevity.
Right.
People talk about records and people talk about technique and people talk about talent. Very few talk about longevity. Stephen Redgrave, who won the Olympics 5 times, in this morning's paper talks about longevity. And I think for someone to play at that level, longevity is unbelievable.
There's so much to know about Sachin Tendulkar, and guys, in this hangout, we'll try to know a little more about him. So let's begin. But before
Okay.
we start, I would like all of you to hang out with us on Twitter. So all you need to do is to go to our Twitter page at Castrol Cricket, and you can tweet your questions. Yes, Harsha Bhogle is right here to answer all your queries and the questions. So now we will begin with our segment 1. And in this segment, we are going to be talking about the significance of number 10. All right, as we all know, Harsha, that Sachin Tendulkar, he wears jersey number 10. And one of the teams that he has played for has decided to retire this jersey, right after his retirement, which has never happened before in cricket.
No, it hasn't. Simply because we haven't had the culture of franchise and league-driven sides. You see a lot of that happening in American sport. You see a lot of that happening in European football, for example, where there's an iconic number that's retired. It's interesting that they did it within 6 seasons.
But right now we're back. We're back with our first participant. Aditya is with us. Hi, Aditya.
Hi Harsha.
Hi, why do you scream a little more, Aditya? Use a
Yeah.
vocal cord.
Hi Harsha. Pleasure to meet you.
Okay, go on.
And yeah, so you know everything about the game, right? You've seen those impeccable performances, executable wickets and everything. So my question for you is, tell me one match which gives you goosebumps even today when you see the repeat. That one match which you'll never be able to forget. I know you have a lot of favorites, you must be having a lot of favorites, but that one match which you'll never forget, which
If
is best from the rest.
if there was one match that gave me goosebumps, then I'd be talking of a very basic, very ordinary player. I mean, every player, even if he's had a short career, has got these goosebump moments. It's very difficult to come to arrive at one. I'll still go 2003 World Cup game against Pakistan simply because of all the build-up. India had started very slowly. There was a dramatic start against Shoaib. I think I'll still go with that as one big goosebump moment. The other one was the Test match in Chennai in 2008 time when just after the bomb blast in Mumbai when England came back and Tendulkar, the winning shot, there was all that nonsense going on about how Tendulkar doesn't score runs in winning pauses. So that was another goosebump moment. Actually, there's one more. I mean, as I'm talking, they're coming in more and more. The first one, I think that's always going to be special at Old Trafford. Like, it was very good summer, so batting conditions were good. But that first 100, the third 100, even a few actually, as you can see. But if I had one, I think it was the World Cup in 2000.
Okay, great.
Absolutely, that was the final match, and in fact, everybody of us wanted India to win. But anyways, we're happy about this Sachin's performance. Now, I would like to take our second participant, Mr. Arun Gopalakrishnan. Hi, Arun.
Sri Bogle, it's good to chat with you here on a different platform.
Arun, are you able to hear me?
I am. Can you hear me, Sri Bogle? Good to speak to you on a different platform altogether.
Yes.
What's your first thought on this frenzy that's taken the country by storm? I mean, Sachin, has it dawned on you that the little man might not play any more cricket in 5 days' time?
Just I missed a little part of that question, but you're talking about the frenzy that's taken India by storm, right? And then what after that?
Arun, please repeat your question.
Okay, basically I was just trying to check with Harsha if it's dawned on him that these are the last 6 days that Sachin will be on the field. What's the void going to be like in 6 days' time?
Yes.
I believe Arun's voice is not audible. Arun, we'll try to get back to you in a moment.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Arun, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Right, can you repeat your question, please?
Okay, I was just wanting to check with Harsha. What's the void going to be like? How are we going to fill the void in 6 days' time? When the little big man walks away, what happens thereafter?
I'll go back to another generation. Yeah, when we were growing up, it was not a television generation. It was radio and print, and it was Gavaskar was this big hero. Gavaskar got up, we switched off the radio, and I still remember like it was yesterday. This was December 1986, after the Reliance Cup, and Kunlal and Krishnamacharya Srikanth walked out back, and I said, cricket will never be the same again. What happened after that? Kapil Dev was still playing. Tendulkar arrived, Dravid arrived, Ganguly arrived, Sehwag arrived, Kumar arrived, Harbhajan arrived, Shrikant arrived. So the tide just keeps coming in. Virat Kohli is ready. I mean, already in the limited overs game, you're chasing huge scores, winning championships without Tendulkar. So yes, there will be initially someone else will walk out at 4, and your first reaction is how dare someone walks out at 4. But in course of time, I think we'll get used to the real world. But there will be a little void. There wasn't a void we can do.
Arun, you got your answer? Thank you very, very much for joining us. There's always been a pressure, not just about performance, but also with the fans, of course. We're a crazy nation.
I must actually, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think we must accept that the reaction of the fans is going to be a little different from mine. Because I tend to watch and work on cricket day in, day out. One game merges into another, one game merges into another, one performance just gently fades away, another performance comes in, and life just becomes that kind of cycle. And then you pack your bags and go to the airport, and you pack your bags and you go to the next town, and you pack your bags and you go somewhere else. But for the fans, it's very different. So I think from the point of view of the hardcore fan who's sitting there, who's watching on television, it'll be a far, far bigger moment.
Right. We always want Sachin to perform.
As happened for you after the 2003 World Cup loss.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so we would like to move on next to our panelist. Mr. Jaideep Chakrabarti from Delhi is there with us, and he's the cricket analyst from sportskira.com. He has a question for you.
Jaideep, hi.
Hi, Harsha.
Hi. Shoot.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question. Sachin Tendulkar has been one of those players who affected the morale of not only his own team players but also the
Jaideep,
you know
I would like you to just hang on for a while and try to repeat your question
okay
and keep your microphone nearer to you because we're finding it difficult to hear you.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay,
Go on.
okay. Yeah, Harsha. My question was, Sachin Tendulkar is one of those players who affected the morale of not only team members but also his opponents. I forget the amount of runs, but his presence in the middle. Like in the Chennai Test match against Pakistan or the ODI against Australia, the opposition looked down and out until he was out there. But the moment he got out, they sprang back and actually went on to win the game. So do you think that apart from the runs he scored, Tendulkar's aura and presence in
Yeah,
the
I remember your question, Dalip. It's about that 175. Was it you asking me the
yeah,
175 when he got out, or the Chennai Test when he got out? You could still win the game, but you did. That's what you're asking, aren't you?
yes,
Yeah. It does happen, and I'll tell you an interesting story about it because let's talk about the Chennai Test match. I was actually working on the Test match on a 30 game that I anchored, and I was in commentary in that closing phase when Tendulkar was going on against a Ken Mustafa.
yeah,
And I remember that his strength was draining out, and then he had a back problem, and then he got the top edge, and the commentator says, "Oh no!" In a rare moment of bias for a commentator, you would recognize the voice. But when Tendulkar got out, India needed 17 to win, I think. And India
absolutely,
lost by 12, if I
yeah,
remember the numbers right, but they were in that area.
yeah,
And I think that was because everybody in the dressing room lost the game the moment Tendulkar got out. And many years later, Wasim Akram became a very valued colleague in the commentary box, and Wasim Akram was captain of the Pakistan side in '99. And I asked Wasim about it afterwards. I said, "What were you guys thinking about? Because this guy is playing a blind. I promise you see all the great Tendulkar innings, and this 136 in Chennai was right up there among the five greatest he's ever played." I said, "What are you guys thinking about?" And he said, "I told my team that even if there's 3 runs left when Tendulkar gets out, we'll win this because in the dressing room they will have lost it already." And I think when Tendulkar was in his prime, and that happens everywhere in the world, in a team where one person is dominating, everyone expects that person to win the game. And so I think Tendulkar created that aura, not just in the opposition ranks, but also within his own side. It was still a good side, India '99, but Tendulkar was at his peak, and Tendulkar was playing magic. I'm just thinking 2013 now, that was 14 years ago, and there are people today who are 20, who are 6 years old when that happened. I have no idea of the majesty and the magnitude that he needs. But Tendulkar in '99 was something else, and I think because of that, the aura he created even overwhelmed his own side. So, I'm absolutely certain that happened in '99. I don't quite know for certain it happened with the 175 against Australia, but certainly happened with the 136 against Pakistan. You're absolutely right.
thank you, thanks a lot.
Jaideep, you got your answer?
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you,
very
thanks a lot,
much
Harsha.
for joining us. We'll get back to
But stay
you.
on, Jaydeep. If you got a comment on something else, we'd love to hear. Because all you guys, there are a lot of guys on this panel who've done a lot of work themselves, and some of them whose work I've read with great interest. So if you got a
If
comment,
I
I'd love to hear it.
if I could just say something about that 175 as well.
Yeah, I mean that 175. I think India was chasing a very big scope, and I don't remember the
India,
exact numbers now. 350 thereabouts, 360
yes,
thereabouts,
and India
and
lost it by 3 runs. India lost it by 3 runs, and
yeah.
the Australian team looked down and out when Tendulkar was batting. The moment he got out, played that short of field, okay, Ricky Ponting just sprang back to life, and
The
suddenly
moment he
the
got out, almost had
Australian
to
team,
injected with steroids, weren't they?
yeah.
Almost injected with
So
steroids, they got
the
back.
Australian team was
Dave, I'll take you back to another game, which is not Tendulkar special, but India did 400 runs against Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka should have
yeah,
won that game. There was something like 20 of the last 3 overs, and they lost it because I think Dilshan got out after making 169, something like that. It was at the crucial phase. So sometimes that can happen when a team is almost listless, hopeless. A wicket goes and they start believing in themselves again. So maybe that's what happened with Australia and Tendulkar in that 175. But it was also a phase where Tendulkar was batting magically. Remember that was 2010, was it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And 2010 was probably his best year in international cricket. He made about 1,500 test runs. He made 1,100s in that period. So maybe he created the same effect in 2010 that he did in 99.
Thank you.
But for a definitive answer, you'll have the other players playing it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much, Jaideep. We're going to get back to you. So just tune on. Now we're going to move to our next panelist. He's Mr. Venkat Anand from Mumbai. He's a very popular sports columnist from Yahoo Sports. So, hi Venkat. Can you hear us? Venkat, are you able to hear me?
Is there?
I don't think I can see Venkat around.
Are you finding it difficult? Can you just check on the technical side to it? Hello, can you hear me now?
I don't think I can see Venkat around on the Hangout just yet.
Okay, you can't see us, but can you hear us? Am I audible to you?
Yeah, you are.
All right. So I'm going to ask a question to you. I would like you to have some insight of it. Well, since you're when it comes to domestic cricket, so Sachin has recently bowed out from even Ranji Trophy cricket. And can you just give us some insight on Sachin as domestic cricket legend? Venkat, am I audible to you? You're facing some
I'll tell you
technical
what.
issue.
Since you talked about domestic cricket, I know Venkat's done a lot of work in domestic cricket. Tendulkar's played what, 38? I think he's played 38 Ranji Trophy games, and he played his first Ranji Trophy game in 1988. So we're talking of 38 games over 23 years. So we just tells you what a dominant India player he was. But his first class average, I looked at those numbers yesterday for a program that I was doing. His first class average in India is 95, which is Bradman-esque. 99. Bradman's first class average, I think, was even greater. But Tendulkar's first class average in Ranji Trophy cricket, if I remember right, I don't have the numbers in front of me, is 95. So Tendulkar, as a domestic cricketer, was, in my point of view, just far too ahead of his contemporaries, just far too much better than the bowling attacks that could come up against him. It had got to a stage, I think, in one of the games, the opposition captain said he should be banned. Just take him out of the game. He should be banned. We don't want Tendulkar in domestic cricket. Just ban it because he's winning games too easily. I think that was the all they had in domestic cricket.
Oh, super. But as a cricket fan, I would like to know now, after years and becoming a legend, how he meets all those aspiring cricketers, and what kind of aura he has in front of all those new players who are trying to be into international.
Especially Swapnila, because every young kid these days seems to have been born after Tendulkar started playing Test cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, it's now almost exactly 24 years. I think he played his first test 15th of November.
Yeah.
So it's almost exactly 24 years since he played his first test. So if you're a 22, 23-year-old kid playing for India,
Right.
then you weren't even born. So can you imagine, you're not even born, or maybe you're 2 or 3 years old, and you walk into this dressing room, and guess what? There's this legend sitting over there. And you can understand why people would be tense, people would struggle to get a word in. But what Sachin was very, very good at was actually putting them at ease.
Right.
So this young opening batsman who's batting alongside Tendulkar, he can say he only played, say, 40, 50 balls. Let's take a number. He played 40, 50 balls. Tendulkar goes out and he says, what's he bowling? So do you think I should play more front foot, back foot? What do you think? He knows the answer, but he wants to put the other guy at ease.
Right.
And I think Rahul Dravid said this. Even Rahul Dravid said this recently when he said Tendulkar, Sachin came up and said, "So what's the bowling like? What do you think you should do?" And he said, "Excuse me." And he was Rahul Dravid. And he said, I didn't know how because here's this legend coming up. But that was his way of keeping people feel at ease. He'd go to them in the change room because he knew they couldn't come to him.
Right.
And once somebody you tell me before I get out and after. You tell me after I've gone out, there's not point telling me what my track is doing, what I should have done. So
Right.
I think he has this great ability to put people at ease.
think that's what makes him great when we talk about
Among other things.
legends
Among
and
other things. Among many other things, that's one thing.
among many other things. One of the things, yeah, making other people at ease. All right, so now we are going to move on to our Twitter question
Okay.
very quickly, and we have Crick Center asking us a question. Now, Harsha, there's a question. He wants to know if there is any moment Sachin would want to relive, or any moment that he would want to forget. Interesting.
I can tell you exactly which moment you want to forget. That's easy. I think you want to forget the 2007 World Cup. I think you want to wish it never happened. It came at a time where he was very low. It came at a time he was struggling. You see the manner in which he got out against Sri Lanka. He doesn't want to remember that his relationship with some people in charge, the coach and the others weren't great at the time. So that is one moment you want to forget. He was the 2007 World Cup. If you ask him what's the second moment we really want to probe into him, it's the 1997 match against Barbados, against the West Indies in Barbados, where India said 129, 130 to win, and you could get those. And he was captain. He didn't always think that he was getting the support of his side, the kind of support he was giving to other captains. So I think those are the two moments that he would like to forget. But he wants to like to remember.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wants to go and live that World Cup again. That is the one thing that kept going.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he wants to remember the 100 in Bangladesh. If there's one moment he wants to remember again, then I don't know. I probably wants to remember 50 moments again.
Right.
Maybe the day he got married. Who knows?
Oh, and maybe every win against Pakistan. I believe
Maybe,
so.
maybe.
You never know.
But he played. Remember, India never played Pakistan in a World Cup till 1992. I think India did play Pakistan in the World Cup 75, 79. Definitely not in 83 and 87. They're playing in the other half. So India didn't play Pakistan in a World Cup game till 92. So 92, 96, 99, 2003, 7, 11. That's 6 World Cups. Each of the 6 Tendulkar played, each of the 6 India won. Lost to Pakistan in a World Cup game. And now he won.
Right.
Now he won.
Such a long wait, but anyways, the whole career seems so much, and we are proud of him. And there could be any even more moments. This is and now it's time for me to make your moment special on Hangout with Harsha. How? Because it's time for Tune In to Win question. I'm going to ask you a question. All you need to do is to visit our Twitter page and tweet the answers, and you might. So the first question is, now just be very careful. The question is, against which team his debut? Come on, go to our Twitter page, that is at Castrol Cricket. Tweet your answer with the hash CastrolHW.
Can you repeat the question,
Just
please?
get lucky to win some exciting prizes. All right, Harsha, we ready? We had a wonderful conversation on significance of number 10. Now we're going to be moving on onto our segment 2, and in this segment, we're going to be talking about those iconic performances to cling on. Now, with these performances, when we talk about performances, now there comes some exciting, iconic partnerships with the
I'm
players.
clinging on to you at the moment.
Yes, right. Somebody else is clinging on to me, anyways. So when we talk about those performances, there comes iconic partnerships with players like Saurav Ganguly and Dravid and Sehwag, but also comes rivalries with Waqar, Shane Warne, and so many others. So now my question to you is, which is that one partnership or rivalry that stood out for you?
They're two different words, and you'd have to look at those two differently. To me, partnership, because Ganguly and Tendulkar were to me the finest limited overs opening partnership in the history of the limited overs game. And the limited overs game, and I'm including Greenidge and Haynes, including Gilchrist and Waugh, including Gilchrist and Hayden. These are all great opening partnerships. But we're talking the history of the game 38 years since the World Cup started. 42 years since the first game was played. Tendulkar and Ganguly were the best opening partnership in the history of limited overs cricket. And they just understood each other well. You talk to Ganguly now, and he says he knew exactly when Tendulkar wanted to be the non-strike end a little bit longer. He knew when he had to force the pace a little bit, knew how to run between the wickets with each other, and a lot of respect for each other's skill. So even though in the history of Test match cricket, Tendulkar and Dravid have played more together than anybody else, I'd still go Ganguly Tendulkar as my iconic partnership in association with Tendulkar. The rivalry, very tempting to say Shane Warne. The most dramatic rivalry was Shoaib Akhtar. Shoaib Akhtar charged again in that Calcutta Test match.
Absolutely.
Calcutta Test match of 1999. Tendulkar was unable to see the reverse swing, gets bowled first ball. Can you imagine Calcutta pin drop silence? What's happened is not supposed to happen. And then that big uppercut 6 over point in the 2003 game against Pakistan was there saying, listen, the world goes round. So the most dramatic rivalry for those two deliveries would be Shoaib Akhtar versus Tendulkar. But I think the more enduring rivalry would be Shane Warne versus Tendulkar. Wasn't better optimized than in the 98 Test match in Chennai, where he got out in the first innings and Tendulkar played one of his greatest ever innings, hitting Warne against the mid consistently on a turning track with him bowling round the wickets up. So to me, Warne versus Tendulkar simply because they were the greatest bowler and the greatest batsman on the field. And cricket is a team game, but within a team game, there's individual contests. It's the individual contest that has unique.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'd still want Tendulkar. And they're great friends with tremendous respect for each other. So while Shoaib versus Tendulkar was more dramatic, I think I'd still do Warne versus Tendulkar. I think it did help that Warne, when he came to India in 98 and 2000, was always a little injured. Once he had a finger injury, once he's coming out of a shoulder injury. I still think Warne at his peak, Tendulkar is still having great fun to watch.
Right. I believe
Sachin fan, are they two different things?
when we personally talk about Sachin, like Sachin is now batting, so it's entertaining. It's going to be like it. Alright, so now again, it's time for me to call another Sachin fan, like me, even crazier than me. You never know. So let's get introduced to our first participant. Mr. Sandeep Mehta is with us from Chandigarh. Hi, Sandeep.
Hi Harsha, can you hear me guys?
Yes, very much.
Hi Harsha, good to hear the person we have been used to listening for almost more than a decade now.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying you've been hearing me for a decade? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, more than a decade hearing you on TV. We're used to hearing you on TV for almost more than a decade now.
Okay, because I thought it might be a little more than a decade, but probably
Yeah, 15 years to be precise, 96, 97 I guess, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's about 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah,
A little bit
yeah.
before that, but no one needs to know.
Okay, so we all know how good Master was in preparing for his games, like how much dedicated he was. But I just want to know how he prepared for the big occasion, like the 2003 World Cup match against Pakistan. He knew about that about, let's say, 3 years back when the matches were planned. So how he prepared for that particular match, off the
I
field
don't.
and on the field.
Look, I don't know because I think it was in the years that I got to know him really well. I think it was an almost unwritten rule that you left him alone. I don't think today's media and today's people know the meaning of the expression "leave him alone," because we never leave people alone these days because then it's
Yes.
24 hours. But it was understood that the day before the game you left Tendulkar alone. And very often he would call you to talk on that day because he never did anything on that day. That day there were no shoots, there was nothing. There was a little net in the morning, nothing in the evening. He was absolutely relaxed because his mind was just starting to take over. And he often said that, I asked him once, I said, what are you thinking about when you're going into bat in a really tense situation? And he said, I've trained my mind to be blank. I'm thinking about nothing at all. I've trained my mind to be blank and I'm going out and reacting to the ball that's coming. I've already factored in what shots I could play, what shots I could not play, what the track is going to be like, what bowler is going, how the ball is coming out of their hand. I factored all that in, but now I'm going to react to that. I don't know how to prepare specifically for a game, but there are two great instances. One, of course, preparing to play for Warne outside the leg stump. When
Yes.
Warne went around in Chennai, it's a very familiar story. Cricket lovers know the story inside out. I heard it from Siva last when I worked with him recently, because Siva Krishna was called to bowl in that rough outside the leg stump. Because it's interesting to get Siva's perspective. I asked him, so what were you thinking? And he said, I was bowling round the wicket to him because Warne hadn't bowled round the wicket. And he said, but you know what? He said, Siva said, I went to him and said, By the time the leg spinner comes on, the right arm over bowler will already have created a rough outside the right hander's leg stump. So the ball will come out of the rough. It won't come out of a ready surface like this. He said, yes, good point. So with spikes, he then created a rough just outside the right hander's leg stump. And I mean, if you play a bit of cricket, you know, if you're facing that camera here, the rough is somewhere here in your blind spot, and it's turning in from there, which is where Mike Gatting got bowled with that ball of the century. So they then created the rough, and he prepared playing into the rough, which is how he was ready when the first one leg break. But I remember one other incident, since you specifically mentioned 2003 World Cup, and he was going out to bat with Sehwag. And if you look at the record, and there's a lot of you on this panel who keep records far better than I do, I think you will find that inevitably Tendulkar batted at number 2, never batted at number 1. He's probably been number 1 6 times out of 136, 139 times he's opened the batting. And that day, he told Sehwag, tell the non-strikers then, I'm taking first strike. He said, it's a big game against Pakistan. 2 years old in international cricket, as a proper cricketer. He played in 99, but as a proper cricketer, just 2 years old. And Wasim Akram was bowling and he slid one in, so he took first ball. Because he had worked out that Wasim might think he's got the plus on Sehwag. So a lot of Tendulkar's game was in the mind. I think a lot of preparation was in the mind. And you'll find that when you talk to the Fed, if you follow the careers of the Federers and the Sampras's and everybody, a lot of the game is there in the mind. And I think Tendulkar won a lot of his games in the mind.
But actually, I'm not the master of it. I could visualize seeing that match. He was standing just outside the leg stump, so that let Akram bowl on his middle stump, so that he could play the cover drives and all. I'm not the master.
Have you seen that game many times?
Yes.
I asked him about that game once, and if you remember, it's probably the third or the fourth ball off the back he punches for 4.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't know if the fourth ball. I don't know exactly which one. He said the moment I played that shot, I knew it was my day. And he said, then I said, come on. Because I think sometimes this is a little trigger to make people feel good. But he would change his footwork, he would change his approach, he'll suddenly make a little change in his stance, he might suddenly crouch a little bit more. One thing, I think I got to play that right. But all that would have been decided before he went out to bat.
That's why he's the god of cricket.
No, he bleeds. Gods.
Yeah, for us, he's the god.
About gods.
He always will be.
No. Tell us about gods. Maybe you can answer this. Does God ever get out of form?
Sorry?
Does God ever get out of form? Your God. Not the cricketing God. Your God.
It happens, but it matters how he comes in back.
No, nothing with that. Don't with the God.
God,
Does Ganesha go out of form?
we haven't seen him, but
you're going for an exam and you're saying, Ganesh, I want 100% match, and you're sorry, dude, I'm out of form today.
No, for us, we have been following cricket as a religion. You know, when you follow something like a religion, automatically he is your...
Good friend about it. Love him, admire him, look up to him.
Yeah, thank you for your answers.
Thank you very much, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, Sandeep. Thank you very, very much. Now I would like to move on to our participant number 2, that is Karthik. He's calling us for Bangalore. Hi, Karthik. Karthik, are you able to hear me? All right. We'll try taking Venkat back. Yeah, he's back again. So,
Hi,
how are you? Can you hear me first of all? I'm not able to hear you properly. There's a bounce on my speaker.
Yeah, there is, but I can hear you far better now. I will slip out for a coffee.
Thank you so much.
All right, Venkat, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, when we talk about Sachin Tendulkar, considering his following and all the matches that he's played in terms of domestic cricket, which one do you find the most memorable one?
Well, it's very interesting because I happened to watch the 204 he scored for Bombay against the Australians in '98, and that game was by far ahead of all the Tendulkar knocks for Bombay. As a Bombay fan, we're all blessed to have turn out he's been free. But that was something else. Stepping out to Jane Moore, was turning it tough to come out and hit a six every over. He and Amit Wagner, didn't forget Amit Wagner, contribution in that little knock, in that knock that he played. He scored a 50. It was a wonderful watch those two play, and I think that he set up that is rather well. The Australians after that knock.
Venkat, this was the game that Brabham Stadium, was it, when they went after Shane Warne? Is that the game you're referring to?
Absolutely. That's the game, sir.
The guy who set it up. The guy who set it up was the guy when Amit Wagner used to look for India under 19, we don't play for the Railways.
Absolutely, same chap. He scored a 50. He and Sachin, in fact, it was a right and left hand partnership, and Warne confidently it out. And Kevin Robertson, the other off spinner, he came on to play as one of the extras in that match, and he got clobbered, and that also happened in the first 200. So it was a very special.
I remember other things about the game because I didn't actually see the game. We were doing commentary on domestic cricket on edited packages in those days. If you remember, I think 94 to 99, we covered first class cricket. Yeah, so I seem to remember 199 ran a streaky single and the umpire was ruled in his favor.
Yes, that's correct. Exactly. That's the one. It was a very, for someone, and I think it was also Sanjay Mandrekar's, last game for Bombay, and it was a crazy game because the atmosphere was as good as an international match. It was free entry in those days. I'm still 27, but I still call it those days, and it was an unbelievable knock, to be very honest, and that's when you realized that the 98th series was going to be something special because and it I think it was almost like the targeting was done. I mean the homework was done, and anything from that game that he took away into the international matches, into the test matches, and the one days that followed. I've lost you, Harsha. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Harsha. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Hello.
In 98, 99, and it was just actually started the 96 World Cup in Mumbai, the 96 game against some Mark Ward, he got 90, I think. And then in 98, he got 100 in Chennai, he got 100 in that test series. I think he got 600 against Australia that year. There were two Desert Storm 100, there was one in Kanpur, I think he got 100 when he went to the first ever ICC knockout in Bangladesh. I think it might have been 600, but you think of Tendulkar, you think of Australia. And the Aussies loved him because
I just wanted to add something to my earlier point on that 204 before I lost you guys.
Yeah.
Is it all right?
Yeah, go on.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as I said, I mean that knock kind of set up the series rather well, and I remember Ian Healy making the statement after that game. I think he spoke to the press after the game and said that it's the best Tendulkar knock he'd ever seen until he had to wait for a more to see the 155 and whatever else that followed. It was a knock. I think it just I mean, I'm so glad he played that long at Brabourne, at Bombay against Australia, and Bombay won the game.
A bit of a tradition. I think they won the next time they came up to it. I think 2001 they might have beaten Australia to might have in the earlier series, but they did beat Australia twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you very, very much, Venkat.
Thank
Again,
you.
we'll join you again. Now, again, there's a question coming from Twitter. Now, again, actually, he's going to be playing his final test match. So, what do you think would be there on his mind?
Nothing. Because if he goes in thinking and then last test match, he's not giving himself a great chance of scoring. If he's going in thinking, oh my God, it's my last test match, I better do well, he's not looking at the ball. I think Tendulkar will approach the last test match, or he'd like to approach the last test match if we allow him to, exactly the same way as he would have approached all his test matches. I saw him very closely in Kolkata. He was still preparing for the game the same way. At the end of the day, he was still going and bowling. I think Tendulkar's biggest rival in his last test match is not West Indies, but is us. I don't think we are giving him a moment's peace. Wherever he goes, we're chasing him, we're pushing at him. He's still got to play a test match. You've got to leave him alone and say, look, if you want Tendulkar to play his last innings tomorrow, 13th of November, the day before his last test match, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Let him prepare. Let him be with his teammates. Leave him alone. Anyone who makes a call to Tendulkar, anyone who invites him for a party, is banned from cricket for the next 10 years. Leave him alone. But I think he will prepare exactly the same way. There will be some emotion because in spite of that very calm, almost stoic face, he is a very emotional man. He would be. He's bound to be emotional. There have been days when he's been unable to hold back the tears. He will be very emotional going into that last game, but he will be aware that his best chance is to focus on football. And I hope that's what he does.
So, this emotion is like happy emotion or contentment or
Almost contentment. There will be a touch of sadness. Of course, there will be a touch of sadness. Can you imagine there's only one thing in the world that you're really good at doing and to it? It's been your life. It's been his life since he remembers anything. Started playing at 13. He's now 40. It's the only thing he's ever done in his life. Tendulkar hasn't taken time off to explore the mountains of Switzerland for 3 months, or even gone backpacking somewhere. It's been his life. All his life it's been, how's the bowler coming at me? What am I going to do? My preparation, all right, how am I going to play this shot? Okay, I've got a tennis elbow, I can't play a particular shot, I've got to throw in that. So he will be emotional, but I hope he looks back and says, I have ascended to a peak that nobody else has. And I'm proud of it.
absolutely. It's so heartening to hear all of that. I would like to check if we have Jaydeep, our first panelist, Jaydeep, online. Hi, Jaydeep. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am. I am still there. I had a question on the rivalries that we were talking about a little bit earlier about, you spoke about Shane and Shoaib, dramatic, those two rivalries. But, one rivalry that he always was with his rivalry with Glenn McGrath.
Yes.
With Shane Warne and Shoaib, they were at times the clear winner. He dominated. He was the clear winner. The gold medal after one. He came and blasted in that World Cup game. But with Glenn McGrath, I think it has been always edged. Sometimes Sachin, sometimes McGrath. But do you think McGrath was the only player who has been actually Tendulkar the most cricketing level?
You came and went a little bit in that line, JP, but I think I got the gist about Glenn McGrath. And you referred to the World Cup game in '96. There was another game in 2000, which was Yuvraj's debut game.
Exactly.
A damn pitch. I wonder if that was a part of Mr. Was part of Mr. The damn pitch in Nairobi?
Yeah, in Nairobi.
The damn pitch in Nairobi, where he went after McGrath. He actually sledged McGrath in that. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
He sledged McGrath in that, and whoever came hard at him, and we're all surprised. Just, hang on, what's this guy up to? And we asked him, very unlike you to slay McGrath, and he said, you know what? If he had on that track, he had bowled like Glenn McGrath, we would have lost the game. So I had to get him angry somehow and make him come hard at me. Didn't have to sledge him. McGrath did literally. I don't know. There's a shot there, and I've seen this footage. 50, 100 times because we use it in some of our programs. He comes in and he bowls short, and Tendulkar's hit it over square leg, and the voice in the commentary says that's no longer in Nairobi. And I think that came out because he got McGrath angry. In a sense, he was going to McGrath to everybody else. But you're absolutely spot on when you talk about Glenn McGrath because he's got a great record against Lara. McGrath's got a great record against all the great batsmen of the world. And that's why in the cricket playing community, you'll find the whole McGrath in Glenn McGrath tremendous respect. So McGrath versus Tendulkar, I can remember 99 Oval. He's got Tendulkar times. That's good actually. McGrath.
All right.
Even the LBW of the shoulder, it was against McGrath. So
All right. Thank you very, very much for being with us.
What I will tell
question.
you, what I will tell you, Deep and Venkat, if all of you still there, who was the bowler you thought the least liked to play?
Hansi
Yeah, and the other one.
No, I wanted to ask you that question, Harsha. Why do you think he struggled against? Hello, Harsha. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about why do you think Sachin struggled against the likes of Hansi Cronier in particular?
even Dion Nash.
Yeah, Dion Nash,
incoming.
I asked him that once. I said, how can you struggle against Hansi Cronier? It's almost like saying Hansi Cronier struggled against you. And then he was probably had a little more mixed bag. And he said, no, he said, I just couldn't pick him. And there was this instance in a test match in South Africa where he's actually gone up to his partner and said, can you take Hansi for a while and I'll take Alan Donald? And if I was a non-striker, I'd have died laughing. Because nobody would ever offer me a better deal than that in my life. If someone told me, here's a flat on Marine Drive, you can have 1,000 rupees a square foot, it wouldn't be a better deal. Alan Donald bowling at one and Hansi Cronier at the other, and the world's best batsman says, I don't mind taking Hansi for a while. He's the greatest deal ever get in the game. He just couldn't pick Hansi. And you could see why he just couldn't pick. He got Pedro Collins. He was the other bowler who troubled him the most. Pedro Collins, can you imagine? Pedro Collins gets to know, and Tendulkar really thinks he was one of the bowlers who troubled him the most. He'll dance non-stop for the rest of his life. Pedro Collins. But I think in recent times, and post asking him this question, I think Sunil Narayan and Saeed Ajmal.
Well, Saeed Ajmal certainly.
Yeah, and I don't know if you
Sunil Narayan. Well, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think he struggled against Sunil Narayan. I don't know if you watched the telecast of the Test match in Kolkata, where I was doing commentary with Rahul Dravid, and we talked about where you pick the spinner off the wrist, you pick the spinner through the rotations in the air, and Rahul said Sachin and Lara. He said always pick the rotations in the air, whereas him and VVS Lakshman were always taught down south to pick it out of the hand. He said because of that, there's a scramble scene coming at him, he struggled sometimes. We still explains problem against occasional problem against Narayan and Ajmal. Having said that, he played them when he was well past his best.
Absolutely. In fact, I think this discussion must go on. We'll join Venkat and Jaideep again. Have our participant too again. Karthik is here. Hi, Karthik. Are you able to hear me?
I'm able to hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Hi, please go on with the question.
Yeah, my question to Harsha is, if Navjot Singh Sidhu had not, woken up with a side strain on March 27, 1994, what aspect of Sachin would we have seen? Now, his average was 28 till then.
Are you the Karthik that works at Trinco by any chance?
I cannot answer you that question, but yeah.
Okay.
But you know the answer. For official purposes, I can't.
In 1994, I'll come back to that very quickly. In fact, I was doing a program with Navjot Singh Sidhu recently, and he talked about that stiff neck. The interesting thing was that by then, Sidhu could not open the batting, and he went and asked for it. But I have no doubt at all, given the way the world game went, I mean, you notice that Mark Waugh had started opening the batting, that a lot of non-test match openers had slowly started to open the batting. Maybe Tendulkar was one of the early adopters in that genre. I have no doubt in my mind that if it was not 94, somewhere down the line, 95, 96, he would have become an opening batsman. But I mean, pre-94 and post-94, it's as if he was born to open the batting. But as Saurav Ganguly said, there's only one place to bat in limited over cricket, and that's at the top. But Navjot Singh Sidhu's stiff neck did India a big service.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much, Karthik, for being with us. Now, I quickly want to move on to our tune into win questions. So, all of you know what to do. Yes, tweet your answers. So, here comes the question. Question is, against which team did Sachin score 200 runs in an ODI match for the first time? Now, I'm sure I need not to give you the options. Of course, you're the cricket crazy fans.
If you have to give them the options and they need the option, they have no right being on this field.
I'm not going to give them. So please tweet your answers quickly. Go to our page, follow it, and yes, the page is at Castrol Cricket #Dalke. Put Castrol HWH and tweet your answers quickly and win exciting prizes. Now I would like to quickly wrap up this segment, and next segment is even more personalized and more interesting because
Which I know very little about it. That's easy.
absolutely. I'm sure, because you're here to answer a lot of questions, and here we're going to talk all about number 10. And number 10 is basically Sachin. Number 10. Number 10 is Sachin. And we would want to know here that what Sachin is like as a father, as a friend, as a team player. So my question to you is that every player they struggle at some point of time with bad form, with the lean patches, phases where he struggles to get back to his form. In that phase, who do you think, as a friend, family, who are the people who are closest to Sachin who's helped him to get back?
I think there would have been a lot of respect for the batsman in the side. I think his first extended period of bad form only came about 2003, 2004. Before that, up to about 92, 93, was still a young player. He'd got 300, including that iconic 100 in Perth. But he never really had a run of bad form. And then 96 to 2003, but to my mind, in the history of the game, so the most glorious years of batsmanship. Not just in Tendulkar's career, but if you look at the great years of batsmanship alone, 96 to 2003, the Tendulkar era will stand in there. By 2004, Rahul Dravid is a very good batsman, Vivius Lakshman is a very good batsman, Saurav Ganguly is a very good batsman, Sehwag is a peer. So it is now an ensemble cast, it wasn't only Tendulkar. So I think there might have been a few discussions over there about what is happening. Maybe a quiet word with the coach, but Tendulkar's mind always looked at the game differently. And I think it would frustrate him because, certainly in 2000 in Australia, he probably knew what to do, couldn't get himself to do it. Which is why that dramatic innings in Sydney, where he said, look, I know what I need to do to play the cover drive, but I'm not getting there. I'm edging. My foot is not going to the pitch of the ball. I'm getting out. Okay, I won't do it. I cannot think of another person who will take as drastic a step as that, saying, okay, I won't do it. I think with Tendulkar, he wrote out his own solutions, which is what made him so great in the first place. But there would have been informal conversations. And I think one of the reasons he had the great year in 2010 was also the relationship he had with Gary Kirsten. I think his relationship with Gary Kirsten was brilliant.
And who do you think in family and friends in person?
If there's a friend who could tell Tendulkar how to bat, that friend deserves a medal.
Because I think we all, as
Only
fans,
one
we
person.
all have views.
There's one person.
This is how we talk.
There's one person who, from the time Sachin was a child, understood Sachin's game better than anybody else. And I think Sachin admitted that later in life. He said, there's only one person who completely understands my game, that's his brother. And in most other families, Ajit Tendulkar would have become a superstar, creating a Tendulkar. But this is such a wonderful family. Ajit stays in the background. It's not about him. It's about his younger brother. It's a wonderful family. Because we in Mumbai are so accustomed to showbiz, and in the world of showbiz, if you do X, you pretend you have done 5,000 X. And you create this big aura around yourself. What Ajit Tendulkar has done to Sachin Tendulkar is sensational. And I think when Tendulkar finishes, quietly he will look up once and he will say a big thank you to his elder brother who shaped him at a time when he was a piece of clay.
Absolutely, and I think that's
So I go back to his brother. I think it was one person he
absolutely,
discussed cricket with.
absolutely. I agree with you. Moving on to our first participant who must be having like a lot of questions. So Gokul is there with us from Chennai. Gokul, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Hi,
am.
Gokul.
Hi, Harsha. Hi, Dean.
Lokul?
Yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you, Harsha, over here, and it's like my dream come true. It's indeed, CJ.
Sorry, Gokul, come again?
It's a pleasure talking to you over here, Harsha.
Thank you. Thanks, Gokul.
It's more like a dream come true that I'm talking to you over here.
Nonsense. Aim higher.
Yeah, Harsha, I have the question for you.
Yeah.
Uh, what apart from the talent that he possesses makes the master still the master of the business? Because we have been seeing him play throughout the innings, throughout the game, throughout the odd 20 years, and I don't think just the cricket and the skill he possesses makes him the master. So it should be somebody. It can be either be the attitude or the way it works. So can you just spill some bean on board?
I mean, talent Gokul was exceptional. I mean, you just got to talk to the batsman who batted alongside him at the other end, and wonderful people like Dravid and Lakshman would talk ardently about Tendulkar's talent.
Uh-huh.
But Tendulkar is not the only talented person in the history of the game. And
Okay.
I think it's what you do with the talent that matters much more. If I go too deep into that, suddenly I can hear Saurav in my ear during the last 1 year saying you're giving too many of these great lectures, so stay away. And I always have a bit of friendly banter with Saurav. But
Okay.
I think what Tendulkar did very, very well was knowing what he can do and just channelizing himself and being completely disciplined about his own game. You'll rarely find Tendulkar doing a Jesse ride. You rarely find Tendulkar getting sloshed after a great performance in a test match and doing something stupid. Tendulkar
Uh-huh.
was always in control of his emotions. He knew what was right at the time. I mean, can you imagine Tendulkar just got out in England and there's this idiot who's run onto the ground and walking alongside him and he doesn't react. I think Tendulkar always knew just what was right for him. I think his preparation was fantastic, but Tendulkar, the strong mental creature, was as powerful as Tendulkar, the batsman. That is my view, having seen him, not as close as most people think, but having seen him over these years.
I have one more question for you. A quick question,
Go ahead.
Harsha.
Gokul, I would request you to please quickly finish that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
being very
What
polite,
does
not telling him answers too long.
yeah. What does it take for somebody to become a Sachin in just one word?
So if I had to define Tendulkar in one word,
Yeah.
Dedication.
Go
You're
with
getting me,
Sachin
Harsha?
for me.
I'm hearing you, but I'm hoping I hadn't heard the question.
Okay. What does it take for somebody to become a Sachin? One word. Just one word answer.
I think the one quality of Tendulkar's
Yeah. That makes Sachin
that is
the man.
extraordinary is humility. I mean, most
Okay.
people, Tendulkar, you talent. You think Tendulkar, you'll say discipline. You think Tendulkar, and you'll say mental. But I think the one quality that stands out for Tendulkar is humility. Tendulkar went through a phase where he could have been forgiven into thinking, and all the people around him into thinking he's God, which is why I hate him. That he's God and he's whatever. No, Tendulkar remained a servant all the time. Tendulkar was always aware that the game was bigger. And I think that is what allowed him to scale newer heights. So
Yeah.
I'd still say humility. I don't know. It might be a good question to throw everybody here, actually. So what's the word you associate with it?
Gokul, what's
Thank.
the word you associate?
Uh, I'm not getting it.
I thought the one word that defined Tendulkar was humility.
Humility. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Harsha. Thank you.
What's your view? What, in your opinion, is the one word that defines Tendulkar? Is it genius? Is it talent? What is it?
I go with you. It's the kind of humility that he has.
Okay.
Right,
That
thank
makes.
you
I
very,
thought
very
it was
much
hard
for
work.
joining us, Gokul. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Now
you.
we
Thanks a
need
lot.
to move on to our next participant who's joining us all the way from Switzerland.
Go ahead.
Uh,
What do you think?
okay, Arun Nava, hello, hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go on with your question. Harsha is right here.
Yeah, Harsha. Hi. Uh,
Uh,
in in cricket, especially Indian cricket, we come across a lot of uh, myths and fallacies, and especially when it comes to Tendulkar. one of the myths that I have seen is that when one compares him with, say, Sunil Gavaskar, there's always the perception that Tendulkar hasn't faced the same quality of bowling as Gavaskar had. But if you look at the bowlers over the years, it is not exactly true. I think with Ambrose, Walsh, Gillespie, Magra, Dolan, Pollock, Akram, Yunus, the bowlers in 90s were at least at par with the bowlers in the 80s and 70s, and the spinners were even better. So, do you agree that he faced as at least as good quality bowlers as the previous eras did?
It's an interesting one, Arnav, because nobody demolishes anti-Tendulkar myths with more academically and with greater conviction than you do. So I'm a little interested that you are asking me that when I should actually be asking you that. But I think there are two factors in the Gavaskar debate. One is the quartet, the West Indies quartet. Uh, and I know Tendulkar sort of came in when Bishop was on his way out, Marshall was on his way out, they lost the sting, and it was really Ambrose and Walsh. I'm trying to go back. Patrick Patterson was starting to go off at that time, and there were a few people who were sharp occasionally, Kenny Benjamin, Vincent Benjamin. But I think Roberts, Holding, Marshall, Marshall Garner. I just think the relentlessness of that would leave tilt the scales in Gavaskar's favor. But I was talking to Rahul Dravid recently, and he said all batting must be divided in the pre-helmet and the post-helmet era. And he said, pre-helmet, I would have been intimidated by some of the bowling that was on offer in the 70s. I had the helmet when I was playing against the fast bowlers. So those are the only two factors that I can think of. But I remember, I think you sent a question earlier as well too, about the fact that therefore even the quality of spin bowling was far better. When Tendulkar was batting, especially he was batting against Vaughan and Murali and the others who were probably the best of their time. But to my mind, Arnab, and I know you will analyze this far better than anyone else in the world can. But I think those are the two factors. I think the relentlessness of four fast bowlers and the helmet.
Yep.
Right. Thank you very much. I hope that you got your answer, Arundava. Thank you very much. He's joined us all the way from Switzerland.
I read a lot of his work, and I've long felt that the finest cricket writing in India comes from bloggers. It doesn't come in newspapers, it doesn't come in magazines. The finest writing comes from bloggers. Venkat writes a lot himself. Arunabha brings a lovely statistics-driven flair to his writing. So I'm not surprised.
I'm sure because they are fans and they know cricket very well. So I think
Don't tell them I'm fans of
Oh, they know now. They know now. I'm sure.
I broke my voice.
Absolutely. So I'll just save you from this and move on to the next. Yes, I'm gonna request Jaideep to join us. Hi, Jaideep.
Yeah, hi again.
Hi. There's a
going-
question of Jaideep for you, Harsha.
Yeah, going back to the off-field persona of Sachin Tendulkar, he marveled on us with his footwork on the field, but his, field to the ground outside the field is something that we should admire and. But we talk about the humility and the hard work that he's put in. But do you think he had to work really hard to keep such a low profile off the field, or did it come naturally to him? Because how is it even possible for someone so extravagantly different and yet be so nonchalant about your own game? Did he have to try to keep that kind of persona, or it came?
Jaideep, I got you off and on. Actually, the best line that was from Arunabha from Switzerland. Maybe there's a thing about the quality of the line. So, Jaideep, let's give it another go and what we do in school. Make a prestige so that a little bit of the lines you I think you're off.
Yeah, I'm asking. It's like we know Tendulkar as a very the humility and the hard work and the discipline. But I'm asking, did he had to work really hard on those for off-field persona that he made for him, or it came very naturally to him? Because it's really hard for someone to be so gifted and yet be so nonchalant about your own gift. Take that stardom off him. Did it start naturally to him, or did
On the
something
printer.
hard?
I don't have it on this one. Jaideep, we're finding it difficult to hear you, so I hope we'll get
I'll,
back to you again.
I mean, if you're talking about Tendulkar's off-field demeanor, you're
Yes.
asking about how he kept his feet on the ground in spite of all of us trying
Yes.
our best to spoil him.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I don't think any player in the history of the world has had a greater opportunity to be spoiled, pampered, and to deviate from what he wants than Tendulkar has, because nobody loves as irrationally and in as focused quantities as we Indians do. Maybe Latin Americans do with football, maybe to some extent the English do with their football, but others are just so much larger. But Tendulkar secluded himself. He has the extraordinary ability to cut himself off, and to be completely honest, not even know what the world is saying about him. Great ability to cut himself off. And in fact, when he first wear the headphones, one of the coaches asked him, "Why are you wearing your headphones? Don't you want to talk to people? Don't you want to whatever?" And he said, "Live my life, put the headphones off and see what you hear." So I think those headphones, the music, was all uh, almost a means to keep him away from the other players. Didn't read a lot of newspapers. I don't think he watched the news. I remember him telling a young player once, he said, "Don't get obsessed with the media. The media is doing their job. You are doing your job. And therefore, don't get worried too much about what they say." I don't see what they say about it. So maybe he insulated himself from things that make him angry. Maybe that was what it was. But a great ability to cut off all that is not required and focus on the game. And that's what players who play a long time tell me to.
Thank you.
There are different
Thanks.
sides of the field that we can discuss. I'm sure
I tell you
I
one
have a
thing,
lot of questions.
Fatima, it's the person you are off the field that makes you the person on the field.
Right.
And you'll find so many people who squandered away all their talent because of who they were off the field and started imagining who they were on it.
Yeah, and you talk about that attitude part. Sachin had maybe not most of the people doesn't
Would
have.
you have been a better player? Rohit Sharma played for India earlier? Never know.
Right, absolutely. All right, quickly now, I would like to invite Venkat to join in. Hi, Venkat.
Hi, hi. Who are you?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I guess so.
Question for you. Well, Sachin became the first overseas player to play for Yorkshire. Now, how do you think that stint in 1992 helped him?
See, I
What's your
think
views on
obviously
that?
county cricket is something that has helped a lot of players, and obviously I think if I'm not mistaken, I mean I studied in England, and I did have an opportunity to go to Yorkshire and have a word with a couple of their club members. If I'm not mistaken, he was the first guy. He was one of the first guys from outside Yorkshire to actually play for the county, which itself is a huge achievement. Given the fact about how I mean, I guess you can call them maybe extremely parochial about their and proud about their county, about their roses, and so on. I think obviously I don't think he averaged a lot in the county circuit
No.
in
Not in
England.
the 30s.
Huh? If I'm not mistaken, he was somewhere around the 20s or the 30s. But I'm sure it might have given him a lot of experience. See, because I mean, a lot of I wouldn't want to maybe quantify his stint in Yorkshire in purely in terms of numbers. It's about living by yourself. Learning how to how to wash your own whites after every game, and then you go off to play every. I'm sure it must have given him a great heads up into living life by by himself, and obviously it has surely helped him in his cricket. I mean, there's without doubt about
Mm.
his performances in England in particular that followed later. But
And
yeah, I mean, obviously, county cricket is a big eye opener for a lot of Indians who go there. I mean, some of them don't end up going there because of maybe wage demands these days, but a lot of them do go, and I think the biggest sort of the takeaway from county cricket is everything apart from cricket. It's just not about the game. I mean, obviously, it is about the game because you're a professional. Everyone looks up to you. But I'm sure they might have seen something in Sachin that is why is one of the reasons why they got him on board. And I'm sure it has influenced him in his career. I mean, it has had a good influence in his career in terms of cricket, but I'm not exactly sure where it has worked for him. Or maybe Harsha would be in a position to elaborate.
How the world has changed in 20 years. The very reason a lot of players used to go to England to play to perfect their game is also now the reason why a lot of them want to come to India to play, because
Exactly.
they want to learn how to play here. And the much criticized T20 is the reason for that. They all want to come to India and they're playing T20. So it's amazing how the world has changed. But I think Venkat is absolutely right when he talked about a young Tendulkar going there. I think Tendulkar got more out of Yorkshire than Yorkshire got out of Tendulkar.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much, Venkat. Now, there's
Yeah.
a very interesting question coming in from Twitter. Now, Pramod wants to ask you that what's your take on the topic that Sachin had a couple of selfish knocks?
There is no batsman in the history of international cricket who has not at some time played for his runs. And very often playing for your runs actually helps the side. I don't know if he's referring to the 100, which came for under a lot of criticism from people, in that they got the feeling that India were about 20-30 short because Tendulkar was slowing it down in quest of the 100.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on in his mind at the time, but that is the criticism that when you look at the scoreboard is a criticism that some can make. But over a career, 463 one-day matches, 200 test matches, if you're putting out one or two innings,
That's
done brilliantly.
absolutely.
And very often, coaches will actually tell batsmen to bat selfishly. If you're not getting runs, if you're going in at a time when there's not much left for you to do, there's only about 40, 50 runs to get, 300 for 3, you have to go and play for yourself.
Right.
And it's fine to play for yourself till such time as you're not coming in the rear field.
As far as we know about such someone has always kept Team India before him.
Yeah, but
He's
remember, for all his human being,
yeah.
with under the same stresses and weaknesses and everything, which is why I keep going on and on about the God thing. I'm sure Tendulkar went through a phase he wanted to score runs. He's a great team player. Rahul Dravid is a phenomenal team player. Anil Kumble is a phenomenal team player. No better team player than DVS, but these are great team players. Tendulkar was part of those 5 or 6 brilliant team players, and that is where the game in Indian cricket began. As much as the players for the people they were. But sometimes batsmen should play selfishly depending on the situation where they are, as long as it's not where the team winning. But I can understand if Pramod is talking about 100, we'll talk about it one day, not when they're celebrating in his career.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's about that particular game where a player should be or should not be selfish.
In a 10 over game, you cannot. In a 20 over game, you definitely cannot, but in a 50 over game,
Yes, yes. There's another question again. It's like very personal side to Sachin. He wanted to ask.
ask Anjali.
BK. Sorry.
Ask Anjali, she'll wear it.
Okay.
No, but
Okay. No, I'll ask because we have lots of questions coming in. There's one question is like, have you ever seen Sachin crying off the field?
No,
Never.
no,
You find him the tough man.
because I try and leave people alone when the game's over. I've seen him when his father passed away in '99, when he came back and you could see the effect of what had happened. Yes, I did. But on the field of play, no, because the most private feelings come out in the change room, in the dressing room. That is their little heaven. That is their little sanctified place where it's cut off from everywhere else, and no one can gain entry, and where you can be yourself. That's why people ask me, tell us what happened in the dressing room. I have no clue. I don't go into dressing rooms, and nobody should.
Right, absolutely. This question was asked by Titas from Twitter, and the next question is from VK.
VK.
Yeah, VK. Has Sachin been ever less motivated and something of this happen? How he has dealt with this?
No, I don't know, to be honest. I think the only time when he felt low in the game was in sort of that '97 phase. But beyond that, no, because I don't think Tendulkar would ever feel less motivated because, as I often say, he was like a child. And if you're not motivated, then you don't play the game. There's no greater thrill in going out. It happens to me when I'm morning of a test match. Someone says you're not motivated to host a live test match featuring him, then you go home. And I don't think Tendulkar ever felt that way. I think he went through a phase in the late 90s when there was turmoil in Indian cricket off the field. And I think he was that sensitive about it, but not otherwise now. But if he
Harsha,
was, he wouldn't tell me. He wouldn't tell anybody. So
Harsha,
there's no way of knowing.
Alright. And like a personal question from me, like generally people move to the sports when they need to change or get motivated, watch India Pakistan match. So what is that one match you still would like to watch for you yourself to get motivated sometime?
What's it
The
again?
win where India
Okay,
won the
not a
game.
Tendulkar win.
Yeah.
I've got a few
Maybe
favorites.
maybe if
I've
you
got a
have
few
some.
favorites. As it turns out, a contribution to both
Yeah.
of those. You remember games where the team won when it was not expected to.
Yeah.
And
Do you
so,
remember any?
that's why I remember test matches. You tend to remember test match wins a little bit more because it means that your performance has been remembered over a much longer period of time. It means you've had to overcome much more than a 50-over game. In a 50-over game, you can still win if someone plays very well for an hour and a half. If you're playing 3.5 hours, the batting side is 3.5. So if someone does very well for an hour and a half, bowls really well for 10 overs, that's okay. But when you do well in Test cricket, inevitably you battle the opposition and conditions for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. I remember Leeds in 2002. I remember the Perth Test win straight after all the drama in Sydney. And inevitably, Tendulkar had a bit of a role to play in this. I said that World Cup game in 2003. But games that had little more than just bat versus ball, the games you tend to remember. I think Tendulkar's one of his most emotional games was the 110 I went in India in 2000, straight after the horrifying incidents in Mumbai, where I know that he was unsettled by what had happened in Mumbai with the terrorist attacks. All of us were.
Right. All of
Yeah.
us. All of us. All right. Now let me motivate all our viewers and listeners by asking another tune in to win question, because yeah, there are prizes, exciting prizes waiting for them. So the question is, world record partnership of 331 runs was between Sachin and which other Indian player? Should I give the options? What do you say? All right. So I'm giving you three options. The first option is Saurav Ganguly. Option B is Rahul Dravid, and option C is VVS Lakshman. Send in your answers, tweet your answers on our Twitter page. Now, I need not to repeat, I'm sure you're already there hanging out with us. So quickly tweet your answers, and yes, win exciting prizes. Now, here I would like to wrap up this segment, and the next segment is all about mantle of number 10. Now, absolutely, Harsha, we can't imagine Indian cricket without Sachin Tendulkar. And now, since he's retired,
We'll have to. We have no choice.
now what next? What do you see? Like, do you see anybody filling into his shoes, which is like
If somebody could fit into Tendulkar's shoes, they weren't big enough in the first place. If somebody could fit into Rahul Dravid's shoes, they weren't big enough in the first place. You don't get people to fit into giants' shoes because those shoes become big with performances over 15, 16 years. Maybe Virat Kohli can equal of Rahul Dravid one day or Tendulkar one day, not just now. Those shoes, the shoes that Lakshman wore, the shoes that Dravid wore, the shoes that Tendulkar wore, there is no way to fit into those guys now. Maybe they will in course of time. Tendulkar, when he was 4 years in international cricket, was not Sir Gavaskar. You become a great player when you've played for a long time. You're a young manager in corporate world, 2 years, flash, great, one launch, product launch, doesn't mean you're brilliant. So at the moment, what we're seeing is a lot of promise. We're seeing a lot of promise from Virat Kohli. I'm delighted we're starting to see the conversion of the promise in Rohit Sharma. We're seeing a lot of promise. I still believe in Ajinkya Rahane. Shikhar Dhawan is starting to score runs. So we're seeing a good group of young batsmen coming through. Here's one for all of you actually. Once Tendulkar retires, the next test match that India play, and I think it's Johannesburg, sort of just around the 15th, 16th of December, the most experienced Indian batsman, unless Gautam Gambhir is playing, or they might play a test match, more likely unlikely one of those two. The most experienced Indian batsman will play less than 20 test matches. Every time a soft play 200 is going away, and that is the void that you're going to see. Now, you look upon that as a problem, and you can say, "Oh my God, Tendulkar's gone. Who's there?" Or you can say, "Isn't this like 2000, 2001, where Dravid, Lakshman, Ganguly, Sehwag were all coming up? Tendulkar was already there for 10 years, but all of these guys were coming up." I think Dhoni is what Tendulkar was in 2001. Someone who's played 70 or 80 test matches. He's around that group. But look at that group: Sehwag, Dravid, Lakshman, Ganguly, Shikhar Dhawan, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Chitesh Pujara. I'm excited about the future.
Absolutely, and we wish that again India. Right now, we are world number one, and we will continue to rock the world. Uh, as we all know about Sachin's greatest mentor was Ramakant Achrekar, right? So he's the one who molded him in his earlier days. Do you think we will see Sachin becoming another Achrekar to someone else?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he should. Ramakant Achrekar had all the time in the world to spend with a 14-year-old child. By the time Tendulkar was 18, he knew much more about the game than Ramakant Achrekar could. He could no longer coach him when he was 18, 19 years old because Sachin had gone way beyond. If you want to coach a 14, 15-year-old kid, then you must have the sensibility to coach a kid who's 14, 15. Tendulkar understand and have the patience to actually sit and spend 3 hours with one kid, which a Ramakant Achrekar can. I think there are coaches who can coach 14, 15, 16-year-olds. There are coaches who work with people 19, 20. And I think Tendulkar will be best with people who've played a lot of test match cricket, where all he's to do is speak a couple of sentences. I think Tendulkar will be a far greater, better coach on how to handle your life. For example, a Rohit Sharma, who's had everything in the game that the Lord above can give you, and it's taken 6 years to play a test match. I think players like those, how to handle their talent, how to prepare for a game. Yes, but not. I don't think he'll be able to go to the 14-year-old now.
So do you see the next role of Sachin as a coach, as Indian
I'm not sure
cricket
actually.
team coach?
I'm not sure actually. The history of sport tells us that the extraordinarily talented have made poor mentors. And so I don't know if he will. I don't know if he has the patience. I don't know if he will understand the same issues that went into challenging him as a captain. Tendulkar never been the greatest captain in the world. He was the greatest batsman in the world. He was one of the greatest thinkers about the game, but never the greatest captain. So I'm not as sure that he will make a great coach or a great manager. I think his understanding of the game can be passed on in some ways, but Tendulkar thought about the game and played it very differently. Just the other day, Saurav Ganguly was telling us a story. We're sitting in the commentary box, and he was saying he had Alan Donald, and all of a sudden, he changed his footwork. And for the life of me, change footwork against a player the caliber Donald, I have to do 3 or 4 net sessions, maybe try it out in a small game before, see if I'm all right. If Tendulkar just walked in, played against Donald, footwork completely different. How do you teach that to a young kid? Only he could do it. Ask Wasim Akram about reversing. He just knows. He does. Can he teach someone? Can he teach someone? He can teach him how to look after the ball. He can teach him a wrist position. But can he teach him how to bowl those magical balls in the 92 World Cup? They can't. They're differences. They're different.
Right, absolutely. Now, quickly, let's take our participant first. Now, Aryan from Chennai is here. Hi, Aryan.
Did you say Aryan?
Yeah.
Aryan from Chennai. Okay, Aryan from the land of the dragon.
Hello, Harsha.
Aryan.
Hello, Harsha.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. In fact, better than most others.
Hi, Harsha. This is Sharad Babu from Chennai.
Okay, Sharad Babu. Okay, I got that.
Hi. Can we expect to see Sachin more in the parliament?
Sorry, can we expect to see what?
Sharad, please repeat your question.
Can we expect to see?
Am I audible to you? Can you hear us?
Things frozen. We'll get back to him.
More in the parliament is what he asked.
All right. We'll just move on to our next question.
What are you playing on with your iPad a lot?
All right. So here's Karthik. He wants to know if Sachin was the best leg spinner because we never talk about Sachin as a bowler. So would you
Was
say
Sachin
Spinner
the
he's
or
the
best
leg
best
leg,
spinner?
leg spinner?
the best leg spinner? It's very. I'm very happy you're not asking this with Anil Kumble in the same city. If Anil Kumble was even in the same city, you could not ask that question. 619 test wickets, you cannot ask that question. Could
Harsha,
Tendulkar
I'm sorry, wait, we
play?
spinner?
So I believe he spun the ball a lot more than Anil did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, that was the reason for the question. That was the reason why I
Absolutely.
asked that
And
question.
I'm delighted because I actually asked him that question. I used to bowl leg breaks at university myself, and I knew how difficult it was to get the ball to rip or to take. If you're on matching, you could bowl the leg break, you could bowl the googly. None of us could ever bowl the flipper or the top spinner. But the leg break or the googly is not a difficult ball to bowl, but Tendulkar would get it to rip, which is the sign of a top leg spinner. If you can get the ball to rip and turn, and Tendulkar turned it how much? This much. How much he turned his wrong arm? This much. Could he bowl the ball straight through?
Yes.
Ask Shane, but Tendulkar ball the ball and goes straight through. Yes, he can. So why did he become a better leg spinner? And I asked him that so many times because I'm in love with the art of leg spin bowling. And I saw Tendulkar bowling and I said, often told him, you must bowl 10, 12 overs every day of a test match. And he said, no, because if I did that regularly, I would have to practice it very hard and reach a certain standard and become very good at it. And that would have put pressure on me. He said, no, I want to enjoy my leg spin bowling, so I just end up in bowling.
Harsha, I just wanted to butt in for a bit. I still remember this 5 for 32 he took against Australia at Kochi, I guess.
Kochi.
Not wrong. It was one of the finest spells of spin bowling I have seen in a one-day game because it was really attacking. Uh, I mean, hell for leather and to great fields, I must add. It was fun, and I don't know. I mean, do you believe he underbowled himself a lot as maybe as a captain or going forward? I think there was a threshold period of 3 overs. If he gets it right, if he gets a wicket, otherwise he'd leak runs. Or do you think he underbowled himself?
Couldn't
I mean,
agree
not the 10,
more.
12 overs you're talking about, but 6, 7 overs here and there.
Couldn't agree more. But as you said, if I have to become a frontline spinner, then I have to work on it like I worked on my batting. Because he would have set different standards for himself.
Yeah,
It wasn't
perfection.
to just come and say, okay, I'll show you my entire repertoire and I'll come and bowl those leg breaks. But he could bowl every ball in the game. He just enjoyed, he wanted to come and bowl for fun. That 5 wicket haul you talked about in Kochi, I remember it well. A lot of people remember the hero. There's two other bowling performances that I remember from Tendulkar. If you're a lover of leg spin bowling, you'll remember those. Okay, tell me which other two. Let's see. The two that I remember.
A
Tendulkar's
Moin
leg spin.
Khan wicket, in Pakistan.
Maybe your memory is better than mine. I'm looking at two test matches, and he had a pivotal role to play in India winning both those test matches against Australia.
Adelaide,
2001 Eden Gardens Test match.
Absolutely,
Eden
Adelaide and Eden Gardens.
Exactly.
At Eden Gardens, he got Hayden Gilchrist one bowling leg spin. And here's a great stat for all of you, which I'm sure all of you already know. That series, Harbhajan Singh took to it. In terms of stats, that's the most remarkable you'll ever get. But also in Adelaide, David Martin Steve Waugh, over to classical leg spin, caught Dravid Tendulkar. I mean, you look at that and you say, wow, why did he bowl more? But I guess.
Yeah.
What about this? The time that he bowled seamer?
That Moin Khan dismissal in 2004, I think it was Multan. That was something else. He just played all around the ball and just couldn't figure out where it came from and just stuck with legs. I mean, you see that and you wonder why this guy doesn't bowl often.
But I'll tell you nothing else. Go back and watch the Adelaide Test match from '92 and see the first 2 wickets that he takes and bowls lovely outswingers and
Outswingers, yeah.
Outswing that much, in-swing that much. So he could do that as well.
In fact, to add on this, I was talking to a Bombay player a couple of weeks ago. He's telling me it was very difficult to play him in the nets. Whenever he used to bowl, and he would want to bowl in the nets, especially with the younger kids around. Just to give them that sort of habit of playing against some of the players they're going to face. So he was telling me this anecdote about, I think it was last year in against, I guess, the Railways. First game he played and scored a 160, if I'm not wrong. he was talking about facing Sanjay Bangar, and exactly tried to replicate the action. It was very interesting to hear it from that player, and it was amazing. I mean, this is a guy you can actually tap into for most things. So yeah, I
Mm,
mean, hats off.
mm,
And I guess the Aditya Tare story is has been told all over.
yeah.
But from Sachin,
Venkat,
the
can I just
state,
request you to please put your video off so that we can at least hear you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Venkat. I've been told that all my life that I look at my best when the camera is switched off. So
I Okay. I'm gonna switch off. Righto.
I don't know why, but maybe just allow us to hear you better.
Yeah.
All right. We'll join you again, Venkat.
Right.
Now, this time I would like to invite our second participant, Navneet Mundra from Jaipur. Do we have Navneet here? Hi, Navneet. Can you hear us? All right, we'll try to get back to Navneet again. Now it's time for me to invite Jaideep. Jaideep has a question for Harsha. Hi, Jaideep.
Yeah, hi again. Harsha, we were talking about what will Tendulkar do after retiring from the game. What next after the 18th of November? He's already a MP in the parliament. And what kind of a role would you want him to play in the upliftment of the, not only about of cricket, but across the sporting community in India, across all sports, because India needs to invest in other sports as well to become a strong sporting nation. Cricket is great, we have a super setup and super infrastructure here, but the other sports also need attention. So, what kind of a role would you want Tendulkar to play in upliftment of one, obviously cricket, and the two other sports as well?
He can draw attention to a lot of other sport because when Tendulkar talks, people will listen. So he can draw attention to a lot of other sport. There's been a lot of talk of him buying a franchise in some other teams. I don't know how much that materialized, but honestly, what do you do after you finish it? I don't know. I hope he can draw attention to a lot of other sport, but whether he can have a role in the running of the other sport, I don't know. I'm fairly certain the answer to that is no. But what will he do? Is 40 years old. I mean, a lot of people they ask that question often at 35. They retire. What are they going to do? I don't know. As you said, it's nothing to do with money. I don't know how good a businessman he can be because business is about giving, and a lot of cricketers know about taking. So I don't know how good a businessman he will be. So I have absolutely no idea. What I do know is that he's full of energy. He's got a lot of passion, and they'll have to find something for him to do. Otherwise, he'll be a nightmare for everybody.
The
What about his son, Harsha?
I
Yeah,
don't
can I
know.
just finish my question?
I'm not enough of him. That I hope he's not coaching his son. I hope he's just talking to him about the joy of playing cricket. I don't know if he can coach his son.
Yeah, if I can finish off why I asked that question was,
Yeah.
when Tendulkar talks, people listen, and after his retirement, he goes into this parliament. People will listen, and other sports in India need someone like a voice like Tendulkar for the to let other people know how to sports ahead. Something like football, we are languishing way down. So maybe he can use his voice a little bit more to reach the increase the reach of these other sports as well.
But Jaideep,
Yeah.
I have a small answer there. I mean, I don't think Sachin can do anything if your bureaucracy and your federations are going to be done this way. He can't
But the
he
point,
can't do
people will
much.
still listen to someone like a Sachin Tendulkar, won't they?
Well, they would, but I guess it just be through one year and out of the other year. So I don't really think it makes a lot of difference. I mean, I don't know. I might be the usual cynic here, but yeah, you can carry on.
But he is in a position to make other people listen to him.
Yeah,
That's
maybe Jaideep, maybe it's a topic for another hangout one day. But what I will tell you is that other sports cannot develop unless people who run other sports want them to develop, and
Correct.
that itself is I'm not convinced about just yet.
tremendous. Thank you. Super answer.
That's a topic for another day.
Tremendous.
Can
Thank
can
you.
you become a great writer if you actually don't want to become one?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Tremendous answer.
Question for you. Can you
Hello.
hear me, sir?
No, can you just repeat it?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
All right. I have a question for you. The question is, do you see anyone at this moment who can carry his mental forward?
Is
Uh,
that for me or for him?
this is
Sorry?
this is for me, right?
Yes, it's for you, Venkat, for
Yes, for
you.
you, for
For
you.
me. Okay. Jadip, you want to take it, or you want to split this?
Yeah, see, point is no one else can be a Sachin Tendulkar. Someone can be a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, but to become a Sachin Tendulkar, you have to be insanely talented, unbelievably disciplined, and the kind of hard work and the focus and the aim and the vision. I do not think anyone else can have that. There will be, as Harsha mentioned, at the beginning of the hangout, there will be players, there will be great players, even in the future. But to replace another Tendulkar, I don't think so.
Well, here's one of the two of you. I think here's one for all of you. Here's one for all of you. Virat Kohli, 115, 116 one-day international, 17 hundreds. Can you hit 50 hundreds in one-day cricket? Because
Maybe
I don't
some
think
of
he'll play
the
200 tests. I don't think Test match cricket will be around in anywhere near the form by the time Virat Kohli finishes. So can he score more one-day runs than Tendulkar? Can he score more
Virat,
hundreds than him?
Harsha,
Virat,
at the rate of which India are playing a lot of one-day cricket, why not? But I wanted to add to I would just add to what Jaideep said about the. I mean, I remember an anecdote from Sri Lanka. I mean, after Murli retired, they said that they don't want to make the mistake of searching for another Murli to replace him. They'd like to see two or three players taking on the responsibility. I think we shouldn't fall into the trap of uh, of 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 searching for this next Sachin because there isn't the next Sachin. I mean, it's crystal clear. I think, and I guess we should give Rohit and co the space to develop. I think there's a lot of good batting talent coming through in India. You just need to go through your domestic cricket and your under 19 cricket, your junior systems, the likes of Sarfraz, Shreyas, Unmukh Chand. There's a lot of batting talent in this country to take it forward. I don't see a dearth of talent. Yes, they. I mean, maybe not in the same class, but we don't know. But we simply don't know.
There's
So
four young kids there, Venkat. There's four young kids that all of us are excited by. There's Baba Aparajit, there's Sanju Samson, there's Vijay Zul, there's Unmukh Chand. There's four there for you who are getting ready. But
absolutely.
every time someone asks me what about the next Tendulkar, I'm reminded of what Kapil Dev answered. Kapil Dev was asked, where is the next Kapil Dev going to come from? And he just looked straight with absolutely deadpan face and said, Father dead, mother too old. There can't be another Kapil Dev.
Absolutely. Harsha, one of the things is that I think, I think our junior cricket system is one of the best in the world. And
It's
I'm the
better than
harshest
most.
critic of the BCCI as it can ever get. But I think the BCCI has gotten it spot on as far as junior cricket is concerned, and I think it is one of the best systems in the world without doubt, and it's a world class setup. So I think I'm not too worried about replacements in a quote unquote manner, but I'm looking at a bulk of these talents to take India through in the next maybe 10 years, or rather than this one individual who comes out of nowhere and takes us all by storm again, which I don't expect to happen.
But the real thrill, the reason all of us are cricket lovers is because we don't know. And we are excited about whether or not it will happen. And that is the thrill that draws us to this sport. If we knew that there was going to be another Tendulkar, how the thrill would go away. Now we don't know. And we're wondering, will become a good player?
You
Will
know,
Vijay Zol? That is the thrill. That's what makes us all cricket lovers.
I was telling someone it's very good to see Manchester United under pressure these days because you're not used to it, and we're spoiled. We've been spoiled over the years for the last 25, 26 years that we don't know how to react now, and this is exactly what I expect from Johannesburg, and it's fun, it's exciting,
It
it's
is.
very
The big what will Tendulkar do after he retires? It is what will India do after Tendulkar retires?
absolutely. I think the productivity will surely increase.
What will the news channels do? What will we do? What will Twitter do? I think Tendulkar handled himself, but can we handle it without Tendulkar? That's the way to see. And I think on the cricket loving point we can, but
Back again, I guess.
The question though, the question is, as we all know, Sachin is already there at Rajya Sabha. So do we expect him to see sometime in the parliament?
I don't know, really. It depends on whether he's excited by going to Parliament, whether he sees himself as a social reformer, whether he sees himself as really getting involved in public causes. I don't know, really.
But maybe you must have met him. So what are the kind of interests that he has?
I mean, I know it's just in table tennis, in food, in fine wines, in cars. I don't know if his interest in social causes because he never had time to devote himself to it.
Yeah, Harsha,
I
I
don't
have a
know.
question here.
Maybe, maybe he wants to, maybe the side of him will come out, but I don't know at the moment.
But what do you think? Where would you want to see him? Maybe after a year.
Listen, it's interesting. If Tendulkar has, where would you like to see Harsha? He turns, hang on, he knows better, right? So where I want to see Tendulkar doesn't. I just want to see Tendulkar making a contribution to society.
Or maybe commentating with you sometime.
I don't know if he's interested enough, because for me it is the greatest thing. Cricketer is always the second greatest thing in the world. I don't know whether you'll find it exciting enough. I mean, I worked with Rahul Dravid the other day, and he looked at me and said, "Do you really work such long hours every day?" He said, "Man, this is tough." And I said, "Welcome to the party. Rahul, see how the other half games." So I don't know whether he'd want to do it. So,
But I want to come in here, Harsha, very quickly.
yeah.
I just want to say that the fact that he's agreed to being nominated to the Rajya Sabha on behalf of the government or whatever it is shows that he might actually be keen on this. I mean, we could see him attending Parliament a lot more than usual. His playing career, and
other people have been
I'm really
nominated.
optimistic on that front.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll wait and see, because there have been other people who have been nominated, people of great stature who have made no contribution at all. So we'll wait and see. I don't know at all. I have absolutely no idea what he's going to do.
Well, I hope he turns out for Bombay this year. Again,
I'll be very surprised. The moment Cricket Association has asked him to keep on playing Ranji Trophy after he retires, I'll be very, very surprised if he does.
Absolutely. Even we would be
I can see that. I can understand the reason there. And I know that Ravi Shastri is not a Tendulkar, but Ravi Shastri, after he retired, played one season of Ranji Trophy cricket to a team of young kids to win the Ranji Trophy in 93, 94, thereabouts. And a lot of people do as a result from spending that 1 year with him. But I don't see him doing that.
see, Harsha, but here's a news point. I mean, I was talking to an MCA official about a couple of weeks back when this announcement came, and he just said they've officially spoken to him, and the answer is no. But I presume it might well have been for playing from the qualifiers.
Look, I can see Tendulkar getting up in Lali, in a government guest house in Lali, being very excited in the morning. But he's excited about playing cricket, but he's also excited about getting the best preparation in before the test match.
Right.
Now I'm suddenly seeing in Asansol, nothing to do with the people who live there, just to play in front of. In course of time, people will taper off. You won't get 25,000 people still coming to see him every time. Will he get excited? He will. But as you said, it's a personal side to him. I don't prove that side to him. I never have.
All right. Definitely, we will continue to speculate, and we would want to see him.
I mean, Rahul Dravid just gone and played a second division game for his Karnataka.
Bangalore United.
Bangalore United Cricket Club, and they wanted to play not one but two games. They got 100 in the first, 70 in the second. But he's a different person. How do you think, oh my God, my loyalty as a 15, 16-year-old helped me, I must go back and do it? I don't think. I'm not comparing one with the other.
In the next year, he might just play a game of Kangali to get back his memories, because Shishir Hatangadi told me he was the best batsman in that tournament at 17, 18.
I don't know. I mean, Shishir is a romantic to beat Barbara Cartland and Milton Wood. Shishir is the ultimate romantic, but I never understood the league. I came from Hyderabad playing on matin, on beautiful hot sunny days. I've never understood the Kanga League, because since I've come to Bombay, the only thing I've read about the Kanga League is that it's washed out.
Absolutely, I mean, 3-4 years has been a disappointment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much, Venkat. I would like to thank you for joining us. Now, I would quickly want to wrap up, and we have another Twitter question asked by Karan. The question is, what about Tendulkar hasn't changed in 24 years?
His approach to playing a game of cricket and his devotion to the game of cricket has not changed one bit. Tendulkar is still the servant of the game. Tendulkar still respects the game in exactly the same way that he respected the game as a little child. You won't see Tendulkar swearing in public. You won't see him throwing away his bat. I remember one of the Indian players said he got out, he went into the dressing room, he threw his bat, and he said, "No, it is that bat that puts the food on your table. Don't disrespect it." And that is the one thing about Tendulkar that has not changed at all. Just his respect for the game of cricket.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed.
Respect, dedication, devotion,
And
and
the
love.
awareness, that the game of cricket has given him everything. He has given the game a lot. The game has given him a hell of a lot.
In fact, it's a gentleman's game, and I think Sachin
That
is a
I'm not
true.
so sure about most of the time.
No,
But
yeah, but that's what is popularly called as, and I think Sachin has set an example for that matter.
I think the Sachins and the Rahuls and the Lakshmans and the Kumblis of this world have contributed a great deal to making it a gentleman's game. But there's just as many people who've tried to take away that title.
Right, absolutely. But as we talk about Sachin's love and devotion towards cricket, we will continue to show our love and devotion towards this legendary cricket player, Sachin Tendulkar, our master blaster. And now it's time for me to wrap up this lovely and enthusiastic and very full of lot of cricket fans and lovers here. So thank you very much for joining here with us for Hangout, which is completely devoted towards our master blaster Sachin Tendulkar. Now here's one question remaining for all of you to win a lot of prizes. That is tuned in to win. Yes, the last question for this whole segment, whole Hangout for today. And the question is, what is Sachin's highest score in Test matches till now? Should I give the option?
It's because there might be a trick in one of those.
All right, I'll repeat the question. The question is, what is Sachin's highest score in Test matches till now? So it's Test matches, and your options are: the first option is 256, option B is 289, option C is 248. Keep tweeting our.
It wasn't a twist, and I think it might have been a twist in the choice. It wasn't a twist. All of them would know it.
Okay, would you
All
want to?
of you. The options?
Yeah.
I'd give 241, 244, 248. So I've given away the answer, right?
All right. We'll still look forward to who wins prize here. So keep tweeting us on our Twitter page, that is at Castrol Cricket. Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, and ardent Sachin and cricket fans, thank you very much for joining here on this hangout. It was lovely hanging out with you and Harsha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Join us again, guys. Someday.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Much.